Hey, how's it going? Charlotte.
Part of the reason that it, it's difficult for me to find housing is that I have multiple medical conditions, and even though Unity Village knew of some of them, they didn't know of all of them. But on the other hand, I didn't know of all of them either. And so I'm actually probably the most infirm person who is living here. Nonetheless, I seem to be able to pretty much get what I need, and it's better for me to be here with people who are, looking for work. Of course, it's not like it used to be because it's COVID days, but who get out and about into the community, and there's males and females here, and that's a good thing because a lot of us girls are handy with this, that, and the other thing, and a lot of the guys are great cooks. So we have a nice mix. And in fact, we do have a very nice mix of individuals from all walks of life and interesting backgrounds. And that's good for me because it keeps me out of the great sorrow that I feel for myself, which is pretty silly of me because life is life and life is not easy for anybody. I do have some things that slow me down considerably, but accommodations have been made for me. And the people who are our volunteers are excellent, and they have extraordinary knowledge of the resources here in Bellingham. We have people like Sustainable Connections bring us on Saturdays the leftovers from the public market, and I'll tell you, we got some of the best snap peas I've ever seen. We've got country fair quality English cucumbers. They bring us all kinds of fresh vegetables. The food bank doesn't do what it used to be able to do for us. However, they can't do what they used to do anyway. Everything is more difficult right now. There are people here for me to talk with. There are people here for me to just watch. I get a big kick out of watching people, and I'm not always right in the middle of the mix because I'm tired. I don't always feel well, and although we get along, we have different kinds of interests. I'd like to have an Andrea Bocelli music day, and maybe nobody else would.
Right.
But that doesn't bother anybody. And I get to have my kitty cat here, and she's a great comfort to me. And there are two other cats here, and it's always fun to watch them interact. And we've got three dogs, and
Yeah.
that's homey for me. It doesn't happen everywhere. In fact, I applied to live at a clean and sober residence, and the lady who runs it has 5 cats and didn't want another one. So even though cats were welcome there, it was pretty much just her cats.
Right.
And that's not a good thing.
Right.
I've learned a lot since I've been here, one of which has to do with being responsible for myself, learning more and more about getting along with people who are different than I am. I have a long history of working with people, and I find that that's useful to me. I try not to be a little Miss Budinsky and tell everybody how everything ought to happen, and I think that's great. I see how much Doug and Tina and Marcus and Lizzie and Sherry and some people whose names I can't recall right at this moment, they have wonderful skills, and they bring to this circumstance pieces and parts of how to live, many of which I need to know more about. I grew up inside of a book. My fun was reading encyclopedias and dictionaries. Now that's an odd child, okay, who likes to do that. But that's some of what my history is, and it comes in handy here every once in a while. But I also get to meet and live with people who have had extraordinarily different experiences than I have had, and in a lot of ways, we all graduated from the same high school, but on the other hand, we all took different specialty routes to get here.
Right.
So, boy, I've learned a lot about how what things have to be in place for people to live. I've always I haven't always. When I was a kid, I lived where we had no indoor plumbing, and we had a pump to get we had to prime the pump to get the water out.
Mm.
And we had outhouses and stuff like that. And that's part of how I lived, but I've also lived in great comfort and with a decent income. So everything that everybody brings here is valuable. Every person that I have met who is here, I have learned something from. There is nobody here for whom I'm able to hold any kind of animosity towards, because, boy, I understand that it's difficult, and even when people are a little bit crotchety, we get over it.
Yeah.
I have the capacity. I make up with people real well.
Yeah, we're all adults, right?
we certainly try to be adults, and I think that that example is good for other people also. Some of us make up to one another better than others. Some of us have a tendency to be a little sharper tongued, and I have to watch myself because I can be terribly cuttingly sarcastic, and I don't think I have been here very much. Maybe once in a while, if there's some humor involved, but I really try to be decent. I enjoy meeting the people who come just as a drop by, and they bicycle by and they stop and they say, well, what are you guys? And so I have the opportunity to tell them. I have the opportunity to let them know what it's like, what kind of people we have here, the kinds of things that we need as a community, stressing the fact that all communities are interdependent. All organizations are interdependent.
Yeah.
Nobody can do it by themselves. One of the things I've noticed, without having an on-site board member here 24/7, is that we get through problems that otherwise we'd wait for somebody to come and either tell us exactly how they want us to do it or hold our hands while we do it. We don't have that kind of, that doesn't slow us down.
Right.
The people who would be here were very helpful. However, it's just, it's good to know that people step up to the plate and take care of things.
Can be independent.
That's right. And we have the capacity to be independent. And even sometimes when there would be a board member here, they wouldn't know what to do necessarily.
Right.
And we'd get together and brainstorm it.
Right.
And that's an important skill. And that ability to step back and let somebody else who has more experience doing it, or who needs the experience of taking the leadership role.
Right.
It's good for them to do that.
Yeah, I agree. So I did have formal questions, but you've answered most of them. I wanted to ask you another question. Since you've been here, how many police calls have there been?
Absolutely zero. I don't fit well usually because I have such an atypical background, okay? So sometimes it can be difficult for me to fit in smoothly with an ongoing organization. That's not been the case here. Of course, there's always been, oh, you like margarine and I like butter, or gee whiz, do you mind awfully if I park a little closer to the door because I walk with a cane.
Right, stuff like that.
Things like that. Very low key. Everybody's pretty doggone accommodating to other people. This is the sort of thing that should be tried in other locations, even here in Bellingham. It's my understanding there is another location in which people who are of a more medically fragile than we are as a group or on average. Everybody's got medical problems.
Right.
You don't get to be our age without having some medical problems. But you also get to learn that, gosh, you're not alone. One of the reasons essentially the basic reason that I'm homeless is that my housemate did not pay their portion of the rent, and I didn't know that was going on.
Right.
And there's a lot of people like me who have Swiss cheese. Their fund of knowledge is rather like Swiss cheese, okay? Fund of knowledge is your general knowledge about the universe and how to get along in it.
Right.
Well, we all have holes.
Yes, we do.
In that kind of knowledge. Some of us are great computer people. Other people have gardening skills,
Right.
which are absolutely fabulous. We have people who have a deep interest in that. So your whole horizon, I remember that one show, The Event Horizon. You know, we have interesting events, we have interesting event horizons, and I've learned a lot. This is a kind of a place that grew up right out of the gravel and the grass with a really lot of dedication from a few people who lit fires under a whole lot of people. And the idea was so good that it did take off. It did start to roll, and we're still expanding and looking forward to more people. I don't think it's a good idea for this to shut down.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think it's a good idea for additional locations to use the same kind of model. And I understand that this is the city of Bellingham's property. They have every right to be deeply interested in it. But we're all adults to the extent that we know where the edge is. And we don't get very close to it.